Now, once you find your passion, the difficulty is being courageous enough to pursue it. That becomes even harder. It's a very difficult hurdle to say, I'm going to give up something that seems comfortable and safe and predictable for something that is unknown. And it requires courage. I'm not going to downplay that. Courage is doing something even though you're afraid.
Buckle up for a new episode of the S.H.E podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance in everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to the S.H.E podcast, Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Empowered. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I'm excited to be talking with my guest today. She has accomplished a lot and with a family to boot. So this is going to be probably one of my favorite conversations because she embodies everything that this podcast is all about, how we're juggling it all, being a female, leaning into the challenges we're overcoming and the fears that we've moved through to get there. So without further ado, welcome Dr. Nelva Lee to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on, Heidi.
I'm excited to talk with you. So Dr. Nelva, before we dive in and I invite you to share, I am going to just share a little bit about you to our audience to kind of give them an idea of who you are. So Dr. Nelva Lee is the founder and CEO of Concrete Build Financing. Dr. Lee was also the CEO of a vocational school for 20 years. She has over 20 years of experience in healthcare and over 10 years in academia as an adjunct professor for various universities. Dr. Lee was a Governor Kemp appointed board member to the Department of Community Health. She is the vice chairman of the board of the Henry County Pregnancy Resource Center, Bridge Wellness South, a former Republican candidate for state Senate in District 17, and current candidate for Georgia Superintendent for Schools. Dr. Lee has authored several Christian-based books, including Stay and Fight and Be the Superhero of Your Story. And I want to learn more about both of those. So Dr. Nelva, beside what I share, let's talk about your business. Let's start there because that was
all right.
Shared. So can you tell us more about a little bit about that, how you got started, why you got started?
Are you talking about the vocational school that I ran for 20 years or my current business?
Your current business. Let's start there.
So Concrete Build Financing is a real estate-backed cryptocurrency. And we aim to alleviate the high cost of mortgage and rent by very innovative approach. And basically, we convert apartment buildings into condos and then rent to own them. And then people can pay either with their Concrete Build crypto coin, but it really helps them to build equity as well as have a stable idea as to what their rent or mortgage is going to be.
So what made you start this? Was it something that you saw? Did you have a challenge in this area at some point? Or were you in the vocational school? Were you seeing people have this challenge? So you're like, you know what? I see the gap. Let me fix it.
Well, here in the state of Georgia, we have been hit primarily very hard by private equity companies coming in and buying up apartments and just jacking up rent. And so our homelessness, homeless population has just skyrocketed. Wow. And I can tell you on a personal level, when I was very young, my mother and I did experience housing instability. We actually lived in a abandoned apartment building at one point. And so that has been, homeless issues and caring for those that are less advantaged, the disadvantaged has always been something that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that helps connect you to also the people that you're supporting, that since you were there experiencing it yourself. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you decided to launch, especially after coming out of running a vocational school?
Correct. Right. So really and truly, I try to do things that I'm passionate about. The vocational school was something that I was passionate about, and this is something that I'm passionate about. So that's a really great idea for anyone that's looking to start their own business, because running a business is tough. Okay. Especially when you're starting off, you wear many hats. It's long hours. There's no such thing as overtime because you're doing it all and you're working oftentimes 6, 7 days a week for many hours. And so you have to find something that makes you want to wake up in the morning and do it all over again. And so that's really the impetus behind a lot of my business ventures is, am I passionate about this? Do I believe it's going to make a difference? And so I saw that with my vocational school. I saw it every time someone would complete their certificate and go on and get their certification. I saw that it brought them purpose and pride. And this is what I endeavor to do with this venture as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to dive deeper into that because you hit a lot of points there. For one, your passion. You said you like to do things that you're passionate about. And I know that a lot of people struggle with leaning into what they're passionate about. One, finding what they're passionate about. And then two, the challenge of if it's a pivot, how do they do it, especially if funding is tight? So, and also, okay, not only funding, but also fear.
Correct.
How there's already people doing it. They're much better than I am. They're further along. Maybe I'm not as good. So let's break this down. So I'm not throwing 7 questions at you at once.
Sure.
How do people, if they're struggling with finding their passion, did that come easy to you? Was that something that you had to move through too, of really honing in on what your passion is? And what advice would you give to those who are kind of in that spot?
So if you're not really sure what your purpose or your passion is, a really good book that I highly recommend is The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. And make sure to get the one that comes with the 40-day workbook because it really forces you to just divulge and really go deep into what is your why, basically. Why do you do the things that you do? Or what are the things that you should be doing? A lot of times people get stuck in careers that they're not, they doesn't bring them any fulfillment, right? And that's a drudgery type of way to live, right? You want to make sure that life is enjoyable and it brings you not only joy, but a purpose, a desire to contribute. And so I would definitely recommend that book. Not everyone knows what they were brought to this earth to do. And so this is a good way to figure that out. Another good book is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. In it, it's not necessarily billed as helping you to find your passion, but it definitely helps you to prioritize what's important to you. And if you are in a profession that is not bringing you a purpose or helping you to contribute, you're probably not in the right fit. And so I definitely recommend everyone to do that. Now, once you find your passion, the difficulty is being courageous enough to pursue it. That becomes even harder. It's a very difficult hurdle to say, I'm going to give up something that seems comfortable and safe and predictable for something that is unknown. And it requires courage. I'm not going to downplay that. Courage is doing something even though you're afraid, right? And so you have to push through the fear. You have to push through the anxiety. And you mentioned funding. Oftentimes you find out very quickly what the hurdles that you have to overcome are. And funding and marketing your idea, your business is usually the big ones.
Yeah, those are fantastic recommendations, those books. And courage is definitely something that we need to have, and we need to find that every single day, because especially if you're going to decide to do something on your own, there is nobody pushing you. The deadlines are yours, right? There's no deadline that you're responsible to for someone else. You mentioned the long hours, which we'll talk about as well. And the habits, structure and discipline, as much as, especially if you're a creative like I am, that's very challenging. But structure and discipline bring freedom. And that's one thing I had to learn. I'm like, okay, if I want the freedom, because a lot of us start a business for freedom, right? Freedom. Mine was, I wanted to be home with my kids. They were little when I moved through divorce, and I wanted to be home with them to make sure that I could still do the things, drop them to school, pick them up, that I did before. That being said, there was moments with the bus, but there was also reasons for that. Maybe I think most of it was really just like, okay, you're going to meet some kids because we're switching schools, but I still got to drop them off and pick them up from the bus stop. And I learned, and having freedom in your business has to be structured, especially when you're juggling family, children, partnership,
Exactly.
partner, all of that, which you've done too, because you're a mother of three, I think I read.
Correct. Yeah.
I have a lot of questions based on that one section that you shared a lot with. And so we talked about the passion and the purpose. You brought up the funding, which was a challenge for you. So let's go there first. Like, what were some of the challenges when you started that you had to overcome yourself? And can you share with us how you overcame them? Or if you're still navigating them?
Right. I always encourage people to, unless you have a great angel investor, self-fund as much as you can, and get started. And that allows you to create a minimal viable product, or, make sure that you have a credible business model, right? And so if you start small and you self-fund, you can start with baby steps, with very small, PPC, pay-per-click on Google, things like that are manageable within your budget if you're currently working still. And I even encourage that as well. Don't quit your day job unless you know for sure that this business is a viable business. And so once you start getting some traction, then you can start putting in more funds into that. And if you need to get credit cards and things like that to self-fund your business, it's as long as it's something that you can deduct at the end of the day, right? If you have a business, you can deduct a lot of things. But I highly recommend that. Definitely try to get an investor, but it's very difficult. Investors like to invest in things that are making $1 million plus. So it's very difficult in the early days to get investors for your business.
Yeah. And another thing you mentioned was you got to find a way to keep going because the days get long. And I always say that's your why that makes you cry. Find that why that really brings the emotion up. It's not just like, I want to make money. Okay, great. What's the reason you want to make money? Maybe you need health insurance for your kids and your family. That's going to bring up emotion. That's going to choke you up. That's going to push you through when you're like, I need to pay that health insurance bill because my children need, or I need health insurance. Or maybe you're passionate about this big vacation that your children are graduating and you want to fund this vacation. That brings up emotion, right? So you want to make it. I always say, like, what's the why that makes you cry? The money, we can always find a way to make money. The business isn't necessarily the vehicle just for the money, but what's that big thing that's going to push you through when those times get tough? So what was it? You mentioned that. So I'm curious, did you have a why that made you cry, or what was it that kept you going when you had those tough days?
For me, it was legacy. I had this big vision that I saw, my children or grandchildren someday working in a business that I created. And that just made me, brought so much joy to my heart, and so I still have that as my primary reason. Now, I also like freedom. I like being my own boss, and I love to travel. So those are, right, I would say right under those, the big why. But the biggest one is that vision that I see my children and grandchildren working with.
Yeah. Yeah, I could feel it when you said it. You're like, it brings me joy. And that's what like that why that makes you cry. What's the emotion? What is it that's you have to have that emotion behind your why that's going to keep you going. So make sure you're drilling down, because most people say, well, I want to make money. That's great. But let's go deeper. Let's go till I can feel that connection and I can hear it in your voice. And it's either that you have that emotional tie to that reasoning, because all of us know it's going to
get dreary.
It's going to suck for a while, right? There's days that are just going to be really hard and really tough. And you need to pull that out. You need to pull that card out when you need it, or that sticky note when you need it to go, okay, this is why I'm doing it. And legacy is super powerful, because we never know what the world's going to be like in 20 years, 10 years, 5 years for the way things are moving so fast. So let's talk about, if you're good with it, let me pull this up, your books. Stay and Fight and Be the Superhero of Your Story. So can you give us a little, background about what inspired you to write these books and what are they about and where can we get them? That's a lot of questions.
Yes. So all of my books, first of all, are on Amazon and they're self-published. And I consider my books my written testimonies. So if I've gone through a really difficult challenge or a trial, I like to be able to write it in a way of this is the journey that I took. You can learn from my journey or not, but I try to put it out there as a way, a pathway for someone else to avoid some of the pitfalls, hopefully. And Stay and Fight is a book about marriage. My husband and I celebrated our 25th anniversary last
Oh,
year. And
congratulations.
it was in Greece. We celebrated in Greece, which was awesome. We had a beautiful 10-day trip over there. But honestly, anyone that's been married decades will tell you it's tough. Marriage is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. And even good marriages require a lot of work. And I talk about that in this book. And specifically with anyone that's going through menopause or premenopause, you will find that hormones will play a huge part in that relationship. And I tell people that when I went to premenopause, it was almost like going to puberty backwards, going back to puberty, and the emotions were it was a roller coaster. And specifically, I thought that my marriage was going to be a casualty of that time. I really did. And so I did some research and found out that a lot of the hormones that helped us early on to connect with our children and connect with our spouse are decoupled when you're going through menopause. So it makes it really difficult to have the same emotions towards your children and your significant other. And so you almost have to rewrite what your relationship is about. So that's that book. And then the second book, Be the Superhero of Your Story. That book is about, I wrote it in response to all the young people that I saw struggling in the aftermath of COVID. We know that COVID increased drug use, increased alcoholism, increased suicidal ideation, as well as suicide rates went up through the roof. So many young people had a lot of anxiety and depression. And so I wrote this book as a pathway to resilience. So the title is Be the Superhero of Your Story. When we see a superhero in a movie, they only show up when there's a huge crisis, right? We find out why they're super because they've had to use that superpower. Same with us. When we're going through a major challenge or trial, it is our hidden talents, if you will, our superpowers that get us through it. And so I highly recommend everyone to not feel that trials are here to bury you, but they're really here to display your strengths. And so that's what those books are about. And again, you can find them on Amazon, but if you go to my website, drnelvalee.com, they're all listed there as well.
Beautiful. Make sure you go to drnelvalee.com, and we're going to have all of Dr. Nelva's social media links, her website, all the things inside the show notes. So if you're driving, don't worry, we got you. We'll get it to you. I love those books. I love the titles, and I love how you're like, you know what? I was just documenting what I'm sharing, what I'm going through.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I want to share with our listeners too. Like, that's a big gold nugget. If you want to leave a legacy, and you feel like there's some of these things that, our guests are talking about are just like beyond you right now, as far as maybe it's building a business or whatever, or you're still figuring out what your passion is, documenting your process, documenting what you're going through is a great way to also leave that legacy. And Dr. Nelva is self-published, and there's ways of doing that. It's not going to get you rich. Writing a book is not going to do that for most people. So I want to preface that.
Right.
Not the way to do it if you're going to do it. Having that and documenting things. And with AI nowadays, it's so easy. Like, literally, you can document things. So I love that you did it and that you shared it. And I know that I went long on that, but I think that was a really big, nice gold nugget, is for people that are confused, start documenting what you're going through, and you'll be amazed what's in there, that you can find what you're really good at and how you help people, because you've moved through something, right? You've gone through something, even if
everyone
you're going
has.
now, you are 5 steps ahead of somebody else that's going through the same thing.
Yeah.
So just by going through that process is supportive. So let's talk about, I usually don't talk about this on this podcast. That's my other podcast, but let's talk about AI a little bit.
Sure.
How is that helping you in your business at all? Because it's here. Like we talked about, things are changing so fast. We used to be able to say, oh, in 20 years. Now we're talking, even a year ago, I have seen how good AI has gotten. We help people, businesses through AI services, certain tools and systems that we support them on. But so there's so many different types of AI out there. Like when we think of AI, we think about chat, and that's not nearly the only AI available. So are you utilizing it for you and your business, and how are you?
I am. So when I transitioned my tech school, we basically did it through doing an agency. So we have an agency that provides interpreting services. And then I now also utilize an AI interpreter as well. So customers can either use the AI interpreter or a live human interpreter. And we call that Interpret AI. And so if anyone is interested in that business, they can go to interpretai.org.
Can you tell who is the ideal? Who's your ICP? So who's this for? And how does it support them? Like what's the gap you're filling or the problem you're solving?
Most of our customers are either law offices or clinics. So we do medical and legal interpreting. And the main reason is that those are the ones that are interfacing the most with people that might speak English just fine to order at a restaurant. But when you're dealing with medical and legal jargon, the complexity just adds so much that you really need a qualified interpreter. And so oftentimes the initial kind of intake session is it's not as heavily medical or legal jargon. And so that can be handled with an AI. And then when you need to switch over to much more difficult information, then you can switch over to our human interpreters. And so those are also on demand. And so that is what our business does.
I love it. And see, I just shared there's so much AI, different types of tools, AI tools out there. I didn't even know interpreting that. You're the first one I've heard. So this is just amazing. So you never know what's out there that can support you. So if you need something, go search for it. Don't think it's not there, especially if you're growing a business by yourself and you're running this solo. There's so many tools out there that can support you. And if you're in medical practice, reach out to Dr. Nelva or law office because she's got you covered.
Got it. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
And we're in Florida and there's so many, Spanish is prevalent here. And so I know it's well needed, very needed here for sure. And throughout the country. What else, Dr. Nelva, before we wrap? First, let me talk to our listeners. If you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube, thank you, Dr. Nelva. And I say hi, and we're grateful you're here with us. Please share this if you know somebody that would benefit from hearing Dr. Nelva, whether it's with one of her books, her businesses, her message, or with Interpret AI, then please share this because that's how we support our guests for sharing their time with us. And we'd be grateful if you did. If you are here on YouTube and you're loving what you're seeing and hearing, please subscribe. We'd love it. That way we can ping you when more amazing guests like Dr. Nelva are here. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. And if you're so inclined to leave us a review, we love 5 stars. That helps the platform push us out to more women that could benefit from hearing Dr. Nelva here today. And if you know of somebody that would resonate with her message or benefit from hearing her today, please share this podcast with them. Dr. Nelva, before we go, I have 2 questions for you. One is there anything is there a fun fact about you behind the scenes that we wouldn't know by checking out your website, learning more about Interpret AI, seeing you on social media, a little behind the scenes of you?
One of them is that I absolutely love to train. So I love to run, swim, bike. And so I've done a few triathlons. I did an Ironman a few years ago. And I just finished and I just finished an ultra marathon earlier this year. So that you won't find that on on any of my social media because I'm not necessarily fast, but I do finish. And so I'm very proud of that.
That's okay. To finish Ironman is pretty incredible. So if those of you listening don't know what Ironman is, you better go Google it because it's probably one of the hardest things out there to do. And not everybody finishes. And that's what people go to do. They're not necessarily, the goal is to finish because many don't. So many have to keep going back to finally finish. So congratulations. That's exciting. And just to even say, I'm going to try and attempt
Right.
an Ironman, even if you don't finish. Just doing that is incredible because it's just the training involved. It's not
The
easy.
training is
Mentally,
intense.
the
Yes.
training is intense, and the mental capacity, like just training that you have to do in
Right.
itself is beyond measure. So, wow, thank you for that. That's you're a powerhouse all around.
Thank you.
So, my next question is: if you could have lunch with anyone, whether they're alive or deceased, who would it be and why?
I'm going to pick Condoleezza Rice. And the reason being is that she's just inspiring to me. She was the highest ranking Republican woman in politics, and she did it with such grace, such integrity. I never saw her, just never had her hair out of place. She was just always so poised. And I would just love to pick her brains, especially as I'm coming into this political field. I'm sure she dealt with a lot more things that I'm ever going to deal with initially, anyways. And I would love to just sit down with her and just have a chat. So, Condi, if you're listening to this, call me.
Yeah, call Dr. Nelva.
Yes.
And if anybody knows Ms. Rice, please send her Dr. Nelva's way. Please,
Right.
let's connect her. So can we talk really quickly before I let you go about your political aspirations? So what inspired you to jump into politics? Because you ran for Senate, correct? Am I correct there?
State
And
Senate.
you're up for superintendent. So share with us more about that for those listening who are like, I've always wanted to, but never even thought about how that's even possible.
Right, right. Well, I've always had, I have an advocate's heart, right? I just believe that everything I've done, really, whether it's healthcare or education, has always been to make life better for other people, and that's just how I'm built. And I believe if I see a problem, I don't want to just complain about it. I want to do something about it. And here in the state of Georgia, we have a problem. We're ranked 38 out of 50. 70% of our fourth graders are not proficient in reading. 76% of our eighth graders are not proficient in math. And the current incumbent, he's going on 12 years in office and he's running again. And we need a change. We really do need a change in leadership. And so that's one of the reasons I'm running. I've always been interested in moving the needle forward for those that don't have a voice. And so that's how I'm wired. So that's why I'm running.
Well, I'm wishing you luck and great success in that. Keep us posted. We would love to know.
Yes.
Yeah. So when is that? When is it in November?
Well, the primary is May 19th. So I have to first win that. And then if I'm successful there, I go on to the general election, which is in November.
Beautiful. Well, stay connected with me because I'd love to celebrate you when
you
win the primary because I know that's happening.
Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Dr. Nelva, can you share with everybody how they can connect with you and learn more and also get your Interpret AI?
Yeah, so I'll start with that. So if you have a medical office or clinic or law office, you can get a 7-day free trial, actually, and just go to interpretai.org and then there's the subscribe link and you'll be afforded that 7-day free trial for Interpret AI. You can check it out free of charge and see if you like it or not. Now, as far as my books and following my campaign, go to drnelvalee.com. That's drnelvalee.com.
Beautiful. Well, make sure you connect with Dr. Nelva Lee. She's amazing, as you've heard here today. Thank you all for listening and watching us today. And Dr. Nelva, before I wrap, is there anything that you'd like to share or say that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't talk about today?
Well, prior to the call, we talked about the pianos because you have a beautiful baby grand, and I have a baby grand here as well. My kids, encourage them very strongly to play the piano, and I would encourage everyone, even if you are older and you say, "Oh, my time has passed," it's never too late to pick up a new talent, And so, if you want to take up piano lessons, if you want to take up a new language. It's just never too late. Our brains actually need it. It needs that new challenge to stay fresh and keep those neurons firing. So just encouraging everyone to do that.
I love that message. It's a perfect way to end. I'm noticing changes as I'm getting older, both with my energy level, my physical health, and my mental health. So we definitely need things to keep us going, to keep our brain going and our bodies going. So yeah, please, I love that message. Thank you, Dr. Nelva. Thank you all for listening to us today. Please connect with Dr. Nelva. Please share this episode with anyone that you know would benefit from hearing her, which is everybody.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of the S.H.E podcast. In the meantime, be empowered to be seen and heard. Thank you for joining us this week on S.H.E. If you've enjoyed what you're hearing, you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss a thing. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating and review. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And in the meantime, go shine your light and be seen, be heard, and be empowered.